Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Leahy. Welcome to Thursday Live. How is it going? How is your week going? I hope it's going really good. No show and tell today because I've shown everything I've got during the week. So we're just going to get into it on this Beatles guitar. So what had happened with this, well, not really anything happened with it, but I've been working on it, and I happened to send a picture of it to my buddy Keith Hansen, who is a great airbrush artist, custom painter, pinstriper, just a great guy, and one of my best friends. And he had said immediately, he said, "Hey, do you want a suggestion?" And I'm like, "Definitely." He goes, "Something's wrong with the top, the way the fade just kind of ends on this. On the album cover, it's blue all the way to the top, but I didn't want a blue guitar, so I did that fade, thinking that was going to be good." And he said, "Yeah, it would look better if you had something going on there, like continue the fade and put some clouds in." So I agree with him. So we're gonna do that today. We're just gonna throw some clouds in the top of this. I still have a lot more work to do on it, the bottom part, but we've seen a lot of that. So yeah, so I figured that's what we do. So we're gonna switch right around. I'll switch to this camera first so you can see it. So this is that fade I was talking about. And originally when I did it, I did that fade early on. And I just figured that would be great because I wanted to still see the white of the guitar, this cool pearl. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to push this blue up a little bit, probably about 2/3 of the way. So leave the horns up top kind of, pearl colored. And then in this area, I'm going to put a bunch of clouds, and you can kind of see my little reference photo up there too. Kelly Drake, what's up? Good afternoon, good evening, whatever, wherever it is. I don't know. It's everything everywhere. It's 5 o'clock somewhere is the way I like to do that. So, all right. So again, no show and tell. We're going to jump right into it. So what I've got is the original cutout that I used to spray in the sky, and I cut out the top row of folks so that they were kind of masked off, and that's all I really need. So I got a little piece of tape. I'm just going to line that up real quick. This is just insurance. I'm not going to get down on here with the new blue, but this just makes sure that if there's any random overspray, that it doesn't get down on the stuff I've already painted. Let me switch over here. I got to update my members list too as well, because Kelly is still our admin, so we're going to leave that set up. Simon, what's up, buddy? I'm doing great. 6 p.m. That's right. It's 6 p.m. there. It's 5 p.m. somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. So if you're on a boat somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, then yeah, there you go. All right. So what I've also done is this is daylight blue, opaque daylight blue with a little bit of white in it. So I took the time to pre-mix this so we can just get right into it. What this is daylight blue, a little bit of opaque white, and also some reducer. So that will help it. I did add a little bit of 40/50 to it to help with the fade, but that's pretty much what we got there. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to come on now. I was going to jump on here so I could see your comments over here. I think. Maybe. I love technology. Oh boy. That's weird. Why isn't that? I know you guys are live because I'm talking to you. So I don't know why I'm not showing up live on my own very own thing. Oh, there we go. That took forever. So now I should be able to see your comments over here, so I'll be able to react a little bit faster. There we go. Okay. So that's what we got so far. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push that blue up a little bit. I don't have to mask the sides because I wanted that kind of, I'm going to keep that kind of fade going towards the edges. So it's really just on the flat part of the guitar. What brush am I going to use for this? Let's use the Micron just because I really want control over that fade. Let's see how this sprays. Again, you guys have any questions, let me know. I do have the close-up cam for the clouds, which will be fun. I may have to add a little bit of white to this too as we go. I was going to kind of play it by ear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this part here is just about at opacity. So that's where I'm going to start the fade, like right about a half an inch, a couple centimeters up from the tops of their heads, because the blue around them is really pretty much at opacity, which is good. It's a good place to kind of get that fade going. And also I'm going to be really, really careful here, because if there is some outside chance that this isn't daylight blue, that I mixed up like phthalo blue or something, I want to make sure right here. So I'm going to spray it really lightly and see if there's any difference in color. And there isn't, so we're good. So I did actually use daylight blue there. That's fantastic. All right, so now I can just kind of go for it. And by going for it, I just mean like I'm going to go really light layers, and then I'm just going to kind of push it up a little bit higher. I was going to do a little bit darker, near the top, but I really want to keep, this is the blue from the album cover. So I really want to kind of keep that, that vibe going for the whole thing. That was the one thing I was talking to Keith about when he suggested. I'm like, oh, well, so far it's like, other than adding Dad, it's been completely like traditional Sgt. Pepper cover. If I had the clouds, it's it's not going to be like the Sgt. Pepper cover anymore. But he reassured me and said, yeah, you know what, though, for the composition and the way that the rest of the guitar looks, it's worth it, and I agree with him. A nice super smooth fade would be ideal here, but I have the advantage of being able to put clouds in here. So say there's a spot where I hit it kind of heavy, or the thing spits or something, and put some extra junk on this. It's going to be really easy to deal with that, because I'll be able to cover it with a strategically planned cloud. Dan, what's up, buddy? So I have some other fun. I mentioned it on the announcement for this, for today's live feed. I was talking to my daughter, who's an unbelievably great sounding board when it comes to things of social media like stuff. And this week on Tech Tuesday, I posted the time lapse of the Caesar painting, and she called me and said, "Hey, you should do a lot more of those." And I'm like, "Oh. I like doing them. It's fun because I can just kind of turn on the camera." But she goes, "Yeah, you should do one weekly of one of the 543s. So every week, every Tuesday will be one of the previous 543s." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a great idea, because that way, I'm still looking for something like really short form, like for reels, and I don't want to do TikTok, but that's kind of the vibe." And I think that's what it's going to be. So you guys get the kind of sneak preview of what's coming. But Tech Tuesday is going to be turned into Time Lapse Tuesday. And I think the reason why is because all the other things I do here are, even though they're just, mostly me painting, it's still education. Like, I'm passing on stuff that I know. And sometimes people, who are not into like learning how to airbrush, just want to see the process, want to see the painting. And I don't have a whole ton of that. Even Caesar, I started that video telling how I was kind of, how I did it, basically. And so I think I need something that will just appeal to random people, like swinging by, just want to see something painted. And those time lapses, I think, will work really, really well for that. It doesn't mean Tech Tuesday is gone. I'll still do like technical videos when I find cool things that I've come across. It's just not going to be as formal as it is now. So, all right. So while I'm working, you can see I'm just kind of pushing this up, making sure. I don't, like I said, I don't want to go all the way up into the horns. I want some of that pearl to really kind of show through on the front, not just the back and sides. So I kind of fade it, leaving even this beveled edge a little bit on the side, which I didn't do down here. I kind of covered the beveled edge there too, but up here I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of a little bit extra, pearl, because I really want that pearl to show from the front too. Now, since I have this in the brush, that's pretty much all I want to do with the blue. I'm super happy. That was the most stressful part, because if the blue wasn't the same, or if the fade didn't come out right, it just would have been sucky. So I want to take a look at this, and if there's any repairs, like, I'll show you. Let me switch to this one, and I'll show you like one of the repairs. Let me move some stuff here. Yeah, exactly. So Simon, that's what I was thinking. So if I do a time lapse of a 543, I could shorten that to about 8 or 9 minutes for video for a whole whatever it is, 2 hours or hour and a half that it takes me to do them. So you get to see the entire process of the 543 from start to finish. So, so yeah, I'm really happy with that plan. In fact, I'm so happy I've already done the first one. So Tuesday you'll get to see one of the 543s that I've done for this coming Monday. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of spider web on the top of this dude's hat and this dude's hat too. The purple didn't want to play nice. So, so since I have the blue here, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to adjust this camera in a second here so you can see it too. I had it set up for the clouds, but we'll switch it down a little bit so you can see the repair first. Come on. Oh, it's so hard to do this when I'm sitting down. Well, it'll be an angle, but you'll get the idea. All right. There we go. So with this, it's really easy. I'm going to kind of pull this template. It's right now taped on the bottom, but I'm just going to pull it so I can move it around because I know like a lot of this, I'm just going to kind of hold it in place. And all I'm going to do is where those spider webs kind of happen. Remember the blue down at the bottom here next to the figures is pretty much at opacity. So I can just kind of go over this lightly, that edge on the top of his hat until that little fuzzy spider web is gone. And this is very convenient because I would have, if I was just doing this as a repair on my own without doing all this other stuff, I probably would have just hit it with a paintbrush, just kind of lightly. But this is nice because with the airbrush, I can really get it to blend in nice. And I'll do this guy here too. Oh, and I don't know, yeah, you guys haven't seen this actually. I'll back it out to the other camera in a second. Yeah, those are the only two real repairs that needed to be done. It was apparently this magenta and the purple that weren't playing nice. Let me jump out to this camera real quick. So yeah, so this is where I'm at with this right now. I actually don't need this anymore. I don't need this copy. So that's all done. So yeah, I am super close on this. I finished all the beetles. What we were going to work on today before I talked to Keith last night is I still have to airbrush on the face of the actual beetles here. I've got it's all blocked in, but I've already airbrushed the highlights and things like that. So I just have to go in a little bit darker skin tone and kind of tie them all together. And then they're done. So that's really, really exciting. I think I got to do a little bit more work on Harrison. He's holding a rose and I don't have the stem. And then all that's left is to do this little area right in here, and then the bass drum head, and yeah, then this is going to be done. So this was a fun project, but I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm going to be glad when it's done. All right, so let me see what we got here. So I have this kind of general cloud reference, and this is really nice. This is just what I want. The dark parts of the cloud are actually the blue of the sky. I didn't want to add any gray to this. I just wanted to be kind of lighter, puffy clouds, and I'm probably not even going to have as much contrast here. This blue is darker than what I have, which is again perfect. I'm just going to use this as kind of a reference. All right. Thanks, Dan. I'm having a blast. Like I said, I'm having a blast with it, but I'm super happy when it's done. I'm going to be really happy when it's done. And then actually it goes to Keith Hansen after that, and it gets cleared. I do have to mount the neck. I do have to attach the neck before it gets cleared. And I also have to pinstripe around the letters on the headstock. And the letters are this blue color of McCartney, and that's one of the reasons I was kind of bouncing stuff off Keith, was because I wanted to get an outline for the lettering on the top of the headstock. And since it's this blue, I said, hey, what do you think about doing this magenta color that Ringo's outfit is? And he said, yeah, that's perfect. So I'll do that last, and I'll show you guys when it's all done. But then I attach the neck onto it. I'm not building the guitar. I'm going to leave that up to my uncle. I'm just going to have it cleared and give him back the body all ready to go. So, yeah. All right. Clouds. Okay. So for the clouds, I don't want to just start. I want to kind of compose this and figure out where they're going to go. So for this, I'm just going to use a regular number 2 pencil. This is just a little mechanical pencil from Bic. I do want to put on my gloves here so I don't get any stuff on here. It's time to retire this one. Actually, let's retire this right now. So this is my dirty painty glove. Originally this was a white cotton glove, and then it just gets overspray all over it. So this is one of the ones that I was using with all its fingers to handle the stuff. This one's actually falling apart too. These aren't super expensive, but they do hold up a little while. So I just cut off the, index finger and the thumb and the middle finger, and then that gives me my little painty glove. I just get these at Amazon. See, like I said, this one's falling apart too, but I just get these at Amazon in bulk, so it's nice. And I use them to handle. If you watched the Open Studio on yesterday, I use these cotton gloves to handle. Well, I handle the artwork with it once it's all framed, so I don't get it dirty. And I also use these to handle any uncleared artwork, and also the glass that I use. So, Kelly, no problem. Thanks, man. All right. Bob, what's going on, buddy? Let's make Simon the boss. There we go. I don't know what these do. I have no idea what the actual, there are two levels of admin. One is a managing, one is a standard. So I have no idea what they do. So Simon's got the wrench now. Excuse me. All right, clouds. So what I was saying was I want to kind of figure out like the composition of these clouds before I really start, kind of just going for it. Because I don't want to start painting white and then realize I don't like it. So I'm just going to kind of lean back and put these in, or start to put these in. Now, if I don't like this paint now, even up here, is now pretty much dried. I can use a kneaded eraser and I can lift the pencil off. So if I put a cloud in and I don't like it, I can switch it. Feel the power by the power of Grayskull. So I definitely want a cloud kind of coming into this pickup. Like that. And I'll take one here, but they're immediately going to get a lot smaller. I want this to feel like there's a lot of depth here. So we'll put one here. I've got another big one here, but not cutting into the pickup. So we'll give it a good composition. And I also want to have something kind of not, just kind of floating off, like not a whole cloud. And then maybe over here, just a real small one. Just to kind of show that depth. And then I'll figure out, maybe there'll be some wispy ones close to the bottom, but leaning back, I think that feels pretty good. Can you even see that? I'm sorry, I don't know if you can even see what I was sketching, but you saw where the pencil was. And when we switch closer, you'll be able to see those pencil lines. All right, I'm dropping everything. All right, and where is this? Oh yeah, that is gonna work. Yeah, now you can see them. Make sure that's focused. Yeah, now you can see them. All right, that's good. I feel good about that. So I'll put this back up here. Now, I am going to use the kneaded eraser a little bit because I've got them in the right spot, but I really don't want any of these pencil lines to show. So I'm going to pretty much tap on this and remove as much of the lead as I can, or carbon, as I can without, having it totally disappear. And this is what I'm saying, like if one of those clouds is in a completely wrong spot, I could take the pencil lines right out without damaging the paint, really. I mean, if you use any kind of aggressive eraser, you'll screw up the paint. But these rubber erasers, these kneaded erasers, are great for stuff like this. They're great. They remove fingerprints. They're pretty gentle as far as, the way they attack the surface. So they're not great for reductive type of paint things. Like if you've seen people use the harder erasers to do hair, just to erase through the paint. It's not like that at all. Speaking of that, and Tech Tuesday, I've got presents for myself, which I'm super excited about. All these fancy things. All right, so everything but this guy. These all came in an ampersand. The company I use for the panels, like on the Harley painting, is Ampersand. And they make scratch board as well. So they also market this set of tools, which are really cool. So this one's a bunch of little tiny needles stuck together. This one's, you know, the steel, wispy, whatever's. This is a little fiberglass rod, essentially. And then there's this traditional scraper. So I wanted this because I want to do a little bit more with hair and things like that. And these tools make it really, really easy. And then also, if you're looking outside the box, you usually find cool stuff. So this is the same thing as this guy right here, but it's just smaller. And this one I got, this one's called Euro Tool. And where I found this was, I didn't realize this, but these fiberglass, basically fiberglass erasers in a way, are used in jewelry for polishing jewelry and cleaning jewelry. And so that's where I found it. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That'll work out great. So I've already started using this. I'll do a Tech Tuesday on all this stuff once I get it going. Aw, Daddy-O. Thanks. Yeah, I'm psyched about that. And he was the whole reason we were doing this. My uncle, my dad's brother, Dave, this was all his idea. So that was the driving force behind the whole thing, was to put him in this album cover, which is fun. Dan, that's awesome. Yeah, I was looking online at like Dick Blick for scratchboard tools, and none of them were really great. You know, it was like they were just kind of like, I don't know, they were just lame. And then I happened to come across the Ampersand package, and I'm like, now that looks cool. So I grabbed it. Is it me or just the Wicked Opaques separate less when mixing colors? They seem to hold together a little bit better and don't need so much stirring. Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think it depends on the color. Like black and white is amazing. It takes a few shakes. However, daylight blue, see how that separates? So you really have to mix this up well every time. So I think it's the color that does it, or that, you know, needs it. Like you look at, this is Hansa Yellow. This barely needs to be shaken when I use this. It's great. So I think it's the combination of pigments. But yeah, overall, it's not like, I don't even have one that I'm, do I even have one? I'm looking for a Wicked bottle that's like been sitting out for a while. Because Wicked will separate if you're not using it, which I don't really have one. Because everything right here at the bench I'm using all the time. So anyway, all right, let's get to it. So I've now erased all this. My fat head's in the way. I've erased all this down to the point where now I can just start messing with it. So I'm going to use, I use the Iwata for that. I mean the C for that one. Yeah, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to clean out this brush real quick because this is my white brush. You know, it's the opaque white works really well through the Micron C. It'll go through the B, but it's, you know, the B doesn't like it as much. It tends to get clogged a lot faster. So for everyone who was there last night for the Open Studio, thank you so much. That was a big one for me to finally finish up that Harley painting and get that shored up. So we're back to razor blades next week. I don't actually have a painting lined up for after the razor blade, so I got to come up with something. I don't even have anything on deck really, so I'm gonna have to think of something different. Like we've done the bike painting, I've done a car portrait on Open Studio, I've now done a razor blade painting. I have to come up with something cool. So if you have any suggestions, you can let me know that too. If a certain type of painting you'd like to see. Oh, I can't do that because it's not plugged in. All right. So this is just opaque white, and I won't need anything else other than white. So even the shadows here, the shadows are going to be the color of the sky. I mean, I may use that blue. I still have it here. So if I need to like carve back into the white, like if something doesn't go right, I can use that blue. I'm missing a glove. There we go. Okay. I gotta replace this one too. So, all right, here we go. I know. Been waiting so long. Make sure you guys, yeah, you guys can see. Okay. Try to keep my head out of the way. All right, let's start with the bigger one just because it's, you know, it's easier to start with a bigger one than to try to like nail like one of the really small ones. This will also let me kind of take a look at the paint too, like right out of the gate. Like if this is mixed 100%, 1-to-1 reducer to white. And if this is too spiderwebby, which it feels like it might be, I'm going to add a little bit of the thicker mix to it. So this just lets me get away with that without committing too much to what's going on here. All right, so this is now, I mixed this with 2-to-1. It's 2-to-1 paint, so it's paint to reducer. So now I added that to the 1-to-1. So this is now like 1.5-to-1. So it's 1.5 parts paint to 1 part reducer. And that's much better. So now I can kind of get some opacity with this, still get some nice control, but it's not spider webbing. It's not like tracking across the painting while I'm trying to get some opacity going here. And clouds are easy to do this with, to work with a thicker paint. Because they're organic. You know, if something goes like not where it's supposed to, like if not where I intended it, it doesn't matter. I can just add on to the cloud to cover it. So it's one of my favorite things to do in painting this stuff is doing clouds. Just really relaxing. It's a lot of fun. There's super low pressure. You know, like I said, there's not much. I mean, unless I had a major blowout, but even if I did that, I could still work with that. It would have to be like a catastrophic blowout, like I'd have to dump the paint on the surface and it drips down for it to be a problem, you know, that kind of thing. All right, so the other thing I got to keep in mind too as I'm doing this is I'm painting the light side of the clouds, but I got to make sure that I don't like drag that down too far into the cloud because I need that blue to be the shadow inside the cloud. And again, I'm just kind of glancing up at the reference, but not really like copying the reference note for note. I would suggest you do that when you first start getting into it, just so you kind of feel like what makes the cloud look like the way it does. But once you like paint a little bit of it, you know, work with it for a little bit, you'll get the feel and you'll start to understand like what's going on to make it, you know, to make it look like the cloud, and then you'll be able to just kind of do whatever you want. But use your eyes in the beginning to make sure you got, you know, really what's going on there, and you're not like just making it up, which is something our brain loves to do. You know, loves to tell everyone what to do. So your eyes should be running the show in the beginning. All right, so that's the top of this one here. I'm going to do the bottom because that's, you know, that's also bright. And then I can kind of decide what's going to happen in the middle of this cloud. So on the bottom of the cloud is not as puffy. It's it just kind of, you know, just kind of there. And again, I want to try to like fade that up a little bit, but not go crazy because I want to keep that middle of the cloud. And that, again, that blue is going to be the shadow inside the cloud, which is nice. So this makes it go real quick too, because I don't have to, I mean, this type of cloud, like you could have a real deep, like, you know, like a purpley type cloud or, you know, shadow in the middle of it to make it look more heavy and more stormy. But that's definitely not what I'm going for this. I really want these to be kind of light and puffy. So the blue will work really well for that. So now I've got the top and the bottom pretty much done. I kind of work with the middle a little bit, just kind of fading it in on both sides so that it just kind of draws together and looks all like one cloud. Yeah, it's good. All right, let's finish this. Also, I gotta make sure I lean back a lot too, because I want to make sure that this cloud isn't like angled, like going off at some weird angle. So I've got two of the 543s done already. Again, one of them was the time lapse, which will be fun, and it's actually a 543C, so it's a color painting, which will be good. And I figured that would be good as the inaugural kind of time lapse. The other thing too I have lined up here is I do have another time lapse. I did a time lapse of the rest of the Raven pedal that we were working on last week here. So I started, I think I showed you guys. Maybe I didn't. No, because we were working on it last week. But I have it right here, so it won't take away from too much. So that is how the Raven pedal came out. So we started that last week. We did the head, and I finished the wings and all the rest of the body and everything. So I time-lapsed the rest of it. So you'll be able to, between the live feed last week and the time-lapse, which will be in a week from Tuesday, you'll be able to see the whole thing being done. But this now just needs to be clear-coded. So, and that'll be ready to go. And I have one more programming note. I'm thinking of all these things as they're popping into my vacant skull. Somehow I have been elected for jury duty. It starts next Monday, and in Ohio they do it a little bit differently than they did in Massachusetts. Massachusetts, you get called up for jury duty. You call the night before. They tell you if they need you. If they don't, that's it. You're done. Ohio's a little different. You're on call for 2 weeks. So I have to check in every night and see if they need me the next day for 2 weeks. So there is a outside chance that if I do get called up that, if it's on a Thursday, one of those 2 Thursdays, that I will not be able to do the feed. But if you are subscribed here, I will put up a post to let people know that that I'm not going to be able to do the feed. So I know, right, Bob? Like seriously, like I don't know. But again, it's the beauty of living in a reasonably rural area. They don't have a ton of people, and you got to get it done. So we'll see. I mean, I've heard stories from locals that have said they've got called for jury duty and then never needed them. They went the whole 2 weeks without having to go. I don't really mind, except that it definitely puts a strain on what I can get done around here if I'm just hanging out at the courthouse. So yeah, 2 weeks, right? Yep. So, all right. So you obviously, while I've been talking, you've kind of got the feel. I'm just moving on to the other cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that cloud just like that. It may need a little bit more. It may even need a little bit of, like a darker blue on the inside. But I want to get all the clouds in and look at them first, and then make some decisions after that. Because again, I want this to be subtle. I don't want this to be, in your face. I want it to kind of, I just want it to be there, but without being there. My attitude would get me in trouble. I know. Well, one of the cool things about my family is that my mom's brother was the police chief in the town that I grew up. So the last time I got called for jury duty, I was immediately dismissed, which was nice. So while they ask you on the form if anyone, I forget what it was. One of them was definitely police, and I think maybe fire or something like that. They did ask me this time too, so hopefully that has some bearing on whether they need me or not, you know. And you can defer. You know, I could have said, hey, but the thing is if you do that, you're just going to be called, you know, they defer it for a year and then you get called anyway. So honestly, me shutting things down this year is the same as me shutting things down next year. So I might as well just kind of get it over with. I mean, I say it like it's a super bad thing. It's actually, you know, it's part of a free democracy, you know, being called for jury duty as, you know, as a juror. So, you know, honestly, I mean, I don't really mind. It's just like I said, it business wise, it's not really great for business. So, especially with the number of things I have coming up and the things I still have on the bench. So, clouds are nice, but mine tend to suck and often look like fog. I think I need to use less. Less is more approach. Yeah, Simon, and then if they're really like foggy like that, grab some good photographs of some real sharp, you know, real sharp, crisp clouds, and it's surprising. You know, it's surprising how the airbrush does a good job at it, but it's really a paintbrush type of thing, which is you wouldn't think so. You'd think, oh, puffy clouds, they'd be great with an airbrush, but you unless you really like look at them. There's a lot of like sharp details in most clouds, even though they're, you know, they feel wispy. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the big thing, Simon. It's, you know, just painting what's there and not what you think is there. Especially with things like clouds and trees and stuff, because we've been conditioned from the moment we could pick up a crayon, you know, what a tree looks like and what a cloud looks like, and you know, and we carry that with us. I know I do. So this is lovely, adding clouds. And Keith's right. Keith's always right. All right, now this one here, I'm just going to knock out this one because I want to kind of move across this thing and get a feel for how it's looking. And while I'm thinking of it, I'll give you the look. So that's the new version of this, which he was right. I like that a lot better. I'm going to add a little bit more to these, to the bright side of these clouds, but again, I'm going to wait on that and do them all together. All right, that little one there is good. Okay. What we got going on there? So I put one here, and that's it. A little one there. Okay. Yeah, so I'm hoping even if I get called for jury duty, I'm hoping. I mean, all right. So Monday night is at 6 o'clock. I don't know. I assume the courthouse is open till 5, and it's an hour away. So what I would probably end up doing is if I find out Friday, if I get called for Monday and I have to go in Monday, then what I'll end up doing is I'll just push the feed up a little bit later because I'll be ready to go. But yeah, I'd rather not miss like all the feeds for 2 weeks. That would be bad. Open Studio is all set. Oh no, I got to do one more. If I'm going to cover 2 weeks, I've got one more in the bank, Open Studio for next week, that I've already recorded and ready to go. But I'd have to record one more to make sure that I'd be covered in case I got called next week or the week after. They're gonna do. Just gonna do the caps. Can you see this one up here? Yeah, just barely in the corner. I'm going to do the tops of both of these clouds and just take a quick look at it to make sure I've got the kind of composition that I want. I don't want these clouds to be distributed really evenly. I want them kind of a little bit random. So this will kind of, by doing just the tops of these clouds, I'll be able to kind of see where they're at better. Sometimes you can't see it with the just the pencil lines, you know. You need to kind of see it starting. Where else did I have one? I think that's it. Let me do the bottom of this one. So I'll make sure I'm positive where they are. There we go. All right, let's take a look at it. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think I'm going to add another little, like a real light one, small here. Maybe something like right here. But yeah, that feels good. Yeah, it feels good. Oh, water. All right. Okay. So now I can finish all these clouds because I like where they are. Did I drop my picture again? Stop doing that. There we go. I want this one a little bit puffier too. I have the bottoms of these pretty flat. I don't want them too flat. There's also now a pencil line in there too, which is not great. It's supposed to be the bottom edge, but oh well, figure it out. This is good. I'll be talking to Keith on Friday again. We usually touch base on Fridays, so I'll be able to give him the photo of this and see if it worked out all right. Again, it's so cool to have, and if you don't have someone, you know, find someone who will give you like accurate feedback or honest feedback on what you're doing. You know, it's nice to be, you know, in a position where someone would say, oh, you know, your stuff looks great, and that's it. But, you know, it's also, I think it's nicer if you have someone who could say, yeah, that looks great, but, you know, what did you think about this? And even if I don't necessarily agree, it's nice to hear that, because sometimes, especially like this, sometimes it does make me think about it and say, oh, okay, what did I miss? And then you're able to make a change that you didn't even see, but is worth it. So, all right. So I've got all of them in. I'm happy with that. The main ones anyway. So now I can start just brightening up the. I think the studio lights were straight on. Well, let me switch to this one because you can't really see it. The studio lights in the Sgt. Pepper photo were definitely straight on. Everyone's harshly lit from the front. So that means up the top with the clouds, I can pick any light source that I want, either left-hand side or right-hand side. These clouds here look like they're more upper right, like pointing down this way. So that's what I'm going to do. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. I could do upper left or whatever, and it would be fine. But yeah. So now I can start brightening those edges up. And what I can also do now too, like I just did there, I can start adding more of the See the wispy extra details that are kind of between the clouds and the way it kind of flares out? Now I can start adding all those too. So what I've essentially done is just drawn them in, blocked them in. Now I can start adding some of the details and light. The happy little clouds. Right, Bob? Not you, Bob. The Bob Ross Bob, but you too, Bob. Roberto. My brother from another mother. Okay. Nice. So this brush with this white, I don't need to use a paintbrush with any of this. I'll be able to get all the, fine wispy details in with just this brush. Although, if you're doing these, don't worry about using the paintbrush to kind of get the finest details and then blending them in with the airbrush. I do that all the time. So sometimes it's a matter of the limitations of the tool, and sometimes it's the limitation of me. It's like, what do I think I can safely pull off with the airbrush as far as super tight detail? If I don't think, if it's if it's going to be rough, if I'm going to screw it up, then I'll just use a paintbrush and then blend a little bit of it with the airbrush after, and everything's great. So don't worry about that. Just do whatever it takes to get the final outcome that you see in your head. Again, there's so little people who are keeping track of what tools you use, and the people that do judge your art by the tools that you use. You don't care about that anyway. You really don't. I've never seen a major art award go to someone for like paintbrush. Like, congratulations, you're an excellent paintbrush artist. You know what I mean? Or you're, an excellent pencil artist. There are awards and shows that are just specifically won, like, I shouldn't have said pencil, because there is like pencil, like, just graphite type shows. But you get what I'm saying. Like, if you use a paintbrush, you could do watercolors or acrylics. It's like there is no paintbrush show. Like, if there might be, but it's a novelty. It's not really a thing, Now, that's not necessarily the case with the airbrush, though, because there are airbrush competitions, which, some of them are good, but I don't know. I'm so more attached to, the final piece rather than, giving validity or value to, I used this tool, so that makes this artwork great. You know what I mean? It's like, that's great. I'm glad you used that tool. Thanks, man. I was hoping that, I couldn't see it originally. That wasn't even on my radar when Keith suggested, and Keith immediately suggested it. It wasn't even like he had to wait. So it wasn't even on my radar. So when that's the truth, I'm like, I even not questioning, but I was like, wow, sure that's going to be all right. I mean, sure it's going to like go with everything. And he goes, definitely. So yeah, so that's what I mean. It's nice to have people around. And like I said, you don't always have to take the suggestion either. You may have a reason for the way you did it. They might have a different feel for it. And you say, okay, yeah, that's great advice, but I think I'm going to stick with what I got, That's okay too. Little clouds. All right, let's jump back a little bit, because now I got to try to decide if I'm going to put a few more little clouds in here, like maybe right here, I think. I feel like there should be something right here too to kind of tie both sides together. I'll leave you guys way out so that you can kind of see the impact of those extra ones. So any ones that are lower, like the lower the cloud gets, the farther they are in the background. So I got to keep that in mind. If I make them all the same size, it's just going to look very flat. It's going to look like all these people are like floating, in the sky, and I don't want that. I want them kind of grounded. So as the clouds get lower, they get smaller and flatter. All right, so looking at this, I feel like there should be one here, but I don't want to go right in between because that's going to throw it off. So I will go right over right here. And again, this is going to be real small. It's just going to be a little hint of something. Just to kind of tie that side together. I like it. All right, so there is a point when too much is too much. And I never like to get to that point, especially with something like this, because if like these clouds go sideways and I put more in than I should, it's a tough fix. It's a real tough fix, and I don't have to deal with that. It would involve respraying the blue, but I'd have to do the whole fade now. I'd have to make sure the people were correctly covered, and then I'd have to start the fade at the bottom and just like kind of, and then I'd have to push the fade a little bit higher because of these clouds. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. I think that's good. I don't think I should touch that anymore because I'm going to screw it up. But yeah, damn it, Keith, you were right. That worked. Let me, before I let you guys go, hold on, let me go get the headstock and I'll show you what I mean about the letters here. So I picked daylight blue and a little bit of darker blue for the letters, and so what we were talking about was, so I've got the blue here, but I need an outline on this, and I thought about everything. I thought about silver leaf and all this other fun stuff, but in the end, I think it's going to be this magenta. So it'll be a lighter, little bit lighter than Ringo, but it'll be a magenta, and that'll thicken up that really nicely. And the neck is the same white as the guitar. So that's, yeah. So what's going to happen from here, once I get my part painted on there, I'm just going to attach the neck, which glues into place, and then the whole thing will be cleared, and I'll be ready to rock and roll. So awesome. Compliments are really nice, but thought out critique is invaluable. Yeah, which is what I loved about school the most. And going to school, one of the things I really learned was how to take a critique, and because we did them all the time, not only take one but also give one, and it was really, really a great thing, because when you're in a environment or a interaction where the person, first of all, is receptive to that, you don't want to give. I never give a critique unless someone wants it or asks for it. But when they do, it's great, because they're receptive to it, and they know that you're going to tell them what you feel, and it's not necessarily, especially with art, it's not 100%, but it gives them something to kind of think about, which is fun. All right, so there's my Beatles guitar. Again, my hope was to have it done this week. Now that I'm into 543 land, I'll be working on, I've got one more to do today and then 2 tomorrow. And so I don't know that I'll have too much time to work on this. I would love to. Be nice to kind of have the Beatles done and maybe some more of, over here. But yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Ooh, I didn't even use the palette cam, so I could do this without having it all get screwed up. So I know this is a bit shorter live feed, but what was nice was we actually got something done beginning to end, which was good, which doesn't always happen on a live feed. Again, I will let everyone know what goes on with jury duty and whether I'll be business as usual. For the most part, YouTube will be business as usual. There will be an open studio next Wednesday and the Wednesday following, and the time-lapse videos will be on Tuesday. And the only thing it will really affect is the live streams. So we'll see what we can do there. But hopefully they don't need me, and I can keep working. That's my goal. So there you go. All right. So enjoy your weekend. Relax. Have a good time. Have a beverage for me, and that's what I got. So for Steve Leahy and the Beatles guitar, I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out.